What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of For Insight. Hope everybody's doing well out there. First and foremost, rest in peace to a legend in DMX who passed away last week at the age of 50. One of the best artists of the 2000s and late 90s. I grew up on him, so rest in peace to him. Unfortunate circumstance that happened. So prayers up to him and his family first and foremost. But let's get into this week's episode. So with this podcast, as long as I've been doing it, one thing I hope that everybody's been able to sort of gain from listening, and I appreciate all of you guys who have continued to tune in and support. But one thing I've tried to accomplish with this is to get people to be introspective, right? Be able to really give people insights to how different people think, how different people got to the circumstances in which they've gotten to, how people have been able to achieve success, overcome obstacles, embrace challenges, and, sort of embrace adversity. And so one of the things that I know I've always tried to do is help people sort of be the best versions of themselves by, being able to take accountability and reflect upon their lives as they know it. And sort of if they have things that are going on, be able to navigate those obstacles, navigate the maze, as I commonly say. And kind of the theme of this whole podcast, right, is to, always adversity is part of life. It's part of growing up. It's part of being an adult and, figuring life out is that you're bound to face challenges, but how are you going to navigate those challenges? But with that, I think it creates also an interesting dynamic for people, though, in terms of, okay, how do we go about those challenges and what really are things that are worthwhile fighting for, fighting against? And am I really doing all that I am capable of to be the best version of myself, right? And so that's kind of where this conversation is going to go today and where this episode is going to go. So especially, I'll start with myself, right? As I've gotten older, and I think for people my age, so the whole 90s babies, early 2000s, our age group, I think one of the main things that we sort of battle and deal with is, first off, this expectations, right? Expectations for ourselves, maybe expectations that jobs, school, our parents, our families, our cultures may put in place upon us, right? And, it seems like if you, especially with social media being such a key and influence in most of our lives, it seems like everybody's living the best life. Everybody has everything figured out, and you're supposed to, have your six-figure life, your best life, your ideal job, and you're supposed to already have it figured out by the time you finish college, or you're supposed to have had it done and have it figured out yesterday. And if you don't have that, then people sort of look at you sideways, or you maybe are someone who's critical of yourself and say, okay, am I a failure? Am I someone who isn't getting where I need to be? And so I think the first key is, battling expectations, and what are reasonable expectations for someone to set for themselves? And then what are things that, okay, at this age, I should have this, or I maybe should be working towards getting this or leaving this alone, those types of things that kind of go on in a person's mind, and saying, okay, what do I expect for myself? And are my expectations worthy of what first off, of the work that I put in? And are the fruits of the labor that I've put in, and the sweat that I sort of gave off, and the obstacles I endured, is it really bearing any real substance? So I think, expectations, something that we all battle with. And then going on top of expectations is, for people who have high standards for themselves, which I think are good. You should always look to aim high. But I think especially one thing 2020 taught us, not trying to live in the past, but it's the idea of people failing to appreciate the little things in life, right? The little goals that you achieve that help you get to your big goals, right? One of the biggest lessons I learned from playing sports, from playing football, from playing basketball, from playing soccer, is that you don't go from being a total novice to being an all-state or all-American, a college football player overnight. It's an assembly and a constant, process of putting in work, time in and time after time, day after day. and you have to build a foundation, and then from that foundation you then take necessary steps, necessary precautions too. You have to really make the sacrifices and understand that if I want to get to a certain level and um to a certain end goal, I have to cut things out. I have to maybe cut out bad food, bad people, right? And we get so focused on getting to that big goal that we don't realize that the little things that we accomplish, the little goals, the little obstacles that we are able to sort of achieve along the way, you know, are something, and they are worthy of, sort of at least taking in and saying, what, I was able to do this. And I think why that's unfortunate is because, for many people, they get to the end and maybe they achieve their big goal if they do, but then time goes by so fast. And by the time they're at the end, it's like, well, dang, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This didn't feel, as fulfilling, as gratifying as I thought it could, because, it was so much about being on to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. I think that's one thing athletes sort of suffer from, is that when they retire, their career went by so fast. And so then by the time they get to the end, it's like, man, 15 years, 10, 20 years went by in the blink of an eye, and I really didn't take things in. And I think that's, unfortunate. So I think being able to take in the little things, the little accomplishments in life, honestly, is a good thing. And I think it helps you stay on track and stay focused, knowing that, okay, I'm here. Okay, I got this little thing done. One more thing, one more step, one more day. And naturally, the progression builds on itself. And then I think this is something that, even I found myself doing, but I think many people take, certain things for granted too, right? We live in a time where, we don't have to hunt for our food. We don't have to hunt for our resources. Many things are readily available to us. And I think sometimes people can take that for granted. Right. And I'm not going to lie, I definitely have done that, being able to wake up with just a home, right, and have food where I can eat 3 meals a day. Most people can't. Most people have to starve and suffer. And, I think that people who take things for granted and don't really know how to strive, don't know how to work hard, don't know how to, struggle. I think when things do get difficult, when they do face adversity, they find it difficult to overcome it. They find it difficult to push themselves. And I think that that's an unfortunate key. So, it's not just about, the big goals that people do achieve, but also being able to push themselves, from within, not having to rely on, a teacher, a mom, a dad, a coach to really, motivate them, because in the end, you're not going to always have those people available to you. Right. So I think that people have to really be able to be their own motivation, their own sense of motivation. And I think that's where people who are their own biggest critics, I think that's one skill that they have, but then it's also a matter of finding a balance. Right. And then I think this goes to, again, the whole social media aspect and the whole social media influence, which I've spoken about before. People have a tendency, and again, all these things that I'm talking about, I've done as well. So it's not like I'm ever going to call anybody out. This is all reflection. But I think, people's tendency to overanalyze things, right? Overanalyzing, situations. Maybe this minor thing turns into a big thing, right? Did I do enough today? Did I do, is this going to be enough for tomorrow? So you struggle with sort of, your mind and your instincts, right? Your overall judgment. And okay, is this necessary? Do I need to build upon this? Do I need to fix this, fix that? And I think people end up running themselves in the same circle and not really being able to make progress because, they're stuck on one step that really they probably did adequately enough, but it's a matter of being a perfectionist and micromanaging even the smallest things. I think overanalyzation really can keep people stuck and stagnant in the same place. It really impedes their growth and their development. And then just another factor that kind of piggybacks on this most recent point is, self-doubt. I feel like self-doubt is something that people really suffer from. And it's very unfortunate, in terms of maybe there's something that they want to go out and accomplish. Maybe there's a task, maybe there's a job, maybe there's a hobby that they want to get into. But it's the idea of, am I really going to be good at it? Is it something I'm going to excel in? Well, I don't know. I've never done this before, right? I've never tried something like this before, so maybe I'll fail. But then, really, the true failure and the true mistake is that you don't give yourself the chance to try, right? The chance to go out and tackle the task and see, okay, you may be very well somebody who's really good at said obstacle, said, skill, right? Whether it be, taking on a sport, playing football, playing basketball, getting into writing, getting into music, I think people fear of failure. That's one thing me and my old coach used to talk about, fear of failure, the idea that people really stop themselves from even trying. And it's unfortunate. I think people should not be afraid to fail. I don't live my life fearing failure. I'd rather try something that I really want to embark on and, at least get the experience. If I try and I don't succeed, okay, at least I could sleep better at night knowing that I gave it my all and I didn't let, fear stop me from trying things and going after things and going after the things that I want. But really, to sum up this whole episode, our greatest adversary really is the person that we wake up and look at in the mirror every day. We are our own worst critic. We can be our own worst enemy. Aside from any person who tries to put you down because they don't believe in your vision, right? There's all of that goes on, but really, truly, it's your mental predisposition of what you think of yourself, what you perceive of yourself, what is your identity, right? Do you see yourself as a strong person? Do you see yourself as a resilient person, or do you see yourself as somebody who doesn't deserve the things that you desire, right? And I think that's something that people battle with every single day when you have all types of people who project that they're living some life that is better than yours, or that if you don't have this skill, this aspect, this outcome at this particular time, then you failed at life. I think we're all running a race, and not everybody has the same starting point. Everybody starts at a different place, but the point is, do you finish or not? Do you let your upbringing, do you let your situation that you're in now, if it's not a desirable one, do you let that keep you down, or do you say, you know what, I'm going to put my shoes on, I'm going to buckle my chin straps, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to fight? And I think if you adapt that skill and that mentality, I think people can achieve anything that they want. And so with that, I'll just leave everybody with that nugget, but that'll wrap up this episode of Foresight. I appreciate everybody who listens and tunes in. Once again, you can catch this episode on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, all platforms, streaming podcasts. Much love.